For almost 50 years, the Kennedy Center has sat poised on the banks of the Potomac River, a beacon of artistic expression, performance, and culture. Now, for the first time in its 47-year history, the Kennedy Center is opening its first ever expansion, known as The Reach. To learn more, we caught up with the Kennedy Center's Vice President of Social Impact, Mark Balmuthi Joseph. Why is it called The Reach?
In large part because of our namesake, John F. Kennedy, who often used that word in his speeches. Among the more famous of his speeches is the Moonshot speech, where he called for Americans to aspire to more, to reach literally to new and unprecedented heights.
What's here? Yeah. What will people experience?
Experience is probably a better word than see, and I think that's intentional, right? So there's lots to see. There are new studios. We're here inside the Justice Forum, where folks might see the screening of an independent film, or folks might experience a talk with one of the Supreme Court justices. You might see the National Symphony Orchestra rehearsing, or the opera rehearsing. You might see a dance company. So there's lots to see, but there's more to do. And that's the biggest difference, I think, between what we've traditionally held and hosted inside the Stone Building, inside the formal building, and this campus expansion. The idea behind The Reach is that it is an architecture that promotes embodied inspiration. So it's not enough just to see a dance class or see a dance performance. You should take a dance class, launch a ball of your own, or throw a salsa party of your own. The idea is that this is a space that fosters participation.
You're going to get a different experience on each side. So you'd see more in the original building, more of the show up and see a performance, and you're more maybe part of the performance in a place like The Reach.
Yeah, so we've had a transactional model, as many arts institutions do, but what the 21st century calls for is less of a transactional model and more of kind of a co-laboratory, a space of collaboration, a space of cooperation, but also a place of implication. So I can go to the Kennedy Center right now and buy a ticket and bear witness, but we don't just want witnesses. We don't want to just stand by, either in the democratic sense or in the creative sense. We want to be implicated. We want to share the stakes of making this culture together. And that's what this building fosters.
And your role here, you've probably experienced that sort of sentiment from a lot of people that you deal with, which is they want to be a part of what's going on, or they want to be a part of the experience rather than just, like you said, bear witness to it. So tell me a little bit about your role here and what you do and how you're fostering that.
Sweet, yeah. My full title is Vice President and Artistic Director of Social Impact, and it's important, I think, to name both sides of my title, because as a vice president, I'm responsible for codifying our policies, naming our practices, naming our evaluation systems. But as artistic director, I find that a social practice is part of how I create in life. So I'm a poet, a writer, a choreographer, but I see curating community the same as someone else might curate jazz, or the same way that someone else might curate hip hop or dance. So my role here is to make sure that we have an ethical, coherent way of thinking about community-facing activity. But what we've been talking about is really the gig. It's a little bit more than making programs for people to watch. It's understanding community, collaborations, and fostering space, events, and resources for folks to make this place their own.
What do you hope people will say about The Reach and what it does and what the mission, and maybe it's how it's been fulfilled or how it's evolved, maybe 10 years after it's open and 10 years after it's been here, part of the Kennedy Center? How do you hope people will talk about this place or know this place?
I like that you said 10 years because, people tend to think of an opening as an opening day. But we're launching a culture here, and that's not going to take one day. It's not going to take 1 year. It might not even take 3 to 5 years. But this is going to be the place that we make. In time, it'll be a space that the people make. which is right in line with John F. Kennedy's language and symbolism to this country. And it's not going to be like some creative democracy that gets built up in the hills by giants somewhere. It's going to be the place that we make together.
Make sure you're in the know. Watch We Are Washington Mondays at 6:30 p.m. on DCN.